Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow, wow, wow. Let's do it again, baby. Hello. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Woo! Woo! Bro, on SmackDown. Welcome to the Comedians of Wrestling podcast, the podcast where comedians dissect wrestling to an unhealthy degree.
Shut your
I'm your host, the
hole!
host with the most viral stand-up, which is going around again about professional wrestling. Dead Black.
I have been here for 12 years!
A.K.A. Dunsky Blackamora, a.k.a. Donnie Wrestling. Donnie Wrestling. A.k.a. the modern day goof and spoof Haraja.
Seems like you're a little stupid, but you're actually really stupid.
Coming at you like Cleopatra, baby. Gabba wee, yeah, yeah.
Gabba
yeah.
gabba wee,
Gabba,
gabba gabba
wee,
gay,
yeah,
gabba
yeah,
gabba.
yeah,
Gabba gabba wee, gabba
Coming at
gabba
you,
gay,
gabba,
gabba
gabba,
gabba
wee.
gabba
This girl,
gabba.
she's fine and
The system.
damn. She's fine. What up, Jabroniacs? We are back in action for your satisfaction with all of our spicy, oops, muy caliente wrestling reactions. Woo. Hey, everybody, what is up? Welcome to the podcast this week. I am feeling spicy. I'm feeling fine. I'm highly caffeinated for the first time in a while, really caffeinated up on this podcast. And before we get into it, by the way, this podcast is grassroots. We could not be more grassroots. I'm doing a lot of shit for this podcast nowadays. So if you want to support this podcast, if you want to help out this pod, Patreon.com/comedians of wrestling. And by the way, we're never asking for handouts. We got tons of bonus content on there. It's ridiculous. 2 8-hour episodes. We also have our weekly roundup episodes. We're talking about AEW NXT focused episodes. We had a post NXT takeover in your house episode with me and Tulo on there on Patreon. And also every Monday we have the Cow Movie World Order where we watch a movie with a pro wrestler in it. And this week we watched Roadhouse. That is out right now. Join the Cow Movie Club. We talk about Terry Funk's brief appearance in Roadhouse. Ridiculous movie. And next week we are watching our second ever Triple H movie, which Aaron says looks like a total piece of shit. Which makes it more fun to talk about. A movie, Inside Out, from 2011, starring Triple H and Michael Rappaport. Rappaport's mad funny, so I think that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Check that out. So, support the pod on patreon.com. Also, Dan Black Attack podcast this week. All our podcasts are kind of, this week are coming out at weird times, but we're back on schedule starting next week. Dan Black Attack podcast will be coming out on Monday also. So, check those out, baby. And anyway, time to introduce him. He's here. He's a nasty, nasty boy. Nasty Newman.
Welcome to How About It City, bitch.
Wow. How About It City? It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks like are you indoors at How About It City right now? In a cafe?
Yeah, I'm in How About It. I'm in the penthouse of How About It Tower.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I knew you've been too elite for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it. I mean, there's ridiculous. There's so much to talk about, and then so little, and also so little to talk about. There's so much,
Yeah.
there's so little.
So
By the way,
much to
you see
talk
my
about,
merch?
and so little of it matters. Yeah, it's awesome.
This is the Drew McIntyre NXT shirt. That I don't like any of the Drew shirts, except for I do like that one blue one they put out.
Such an
But, yeah.
interesting choice to have, like, the things on the side
Yeah.
go behind his name, McIntyre. Like, it literally looks like they just slapped it together.
Yeah,
Like,
I
they
know.
didn't
I don't
edit it at all.
understand that at all. I was looking close at that. I didn't really get that at all. Anyway, as always, the podcast is getting back to normal here, but the times are not getting back to normal.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, as always, all these podcasts, we are the Cow Podcast is firmly stands with the Black Lives Matter movement.
Mhm.
So we'll, be talking about that stuff as well as it comes up. First thing I'd like to say is if you haven't listened to it as Wrestling Marks, check out the New Days podcast they put out this week, where the New Day kind of talk about their experience with racism in America and growing up in a country where you don't feel the same. It's pretty fucking powerful, pretty amazing, really emotional stuff. I was listening to it and was, feeling it.
Yeah,
Did you hear?
I did. Yeah, I watched it. I listened to it.
I didn't watch it. I should have watched it. I didn't realize there was a video.
Yeah, the what do you call it? I just think like it's important for people with platforms to speak out against this stuff.
Yeah.
I think as a society we put too much. We tend to be like, okay, Black people, teach us about this, or like, okay, Black people, like you have to be the superhero, you have to like help us. We do this especially to Black women and Black kids a lot. There's a video going around of a little Black girl having to defend her humanity, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like the fact that she feels like she has to take up that mantle, and that we have to have this conversation where a child has to tell somebody that she's a human being. And I think, and I'm just going to jump right into it. Like, there's been comments on the Facebook group about how, oh, it doesn't matter whether or not a wrestler speaks out. It doesn't matter whether they post on social media about it. These are all coming from white people. So I don't understand how like an adult human being can with a straight face be like, oh, this doesn't matter. When you not only don't speak for anybody but yourself, you certainly don't speak for Black people about what matters and what doesn't matter in terms of like getting this message out there.
Right. I think that, so you're referring to something I said. I think we should give the context, which is, I had separately looked up kind of which wrestlers were not posting anything. And I didn't intend by any means to, let's say, shame them, even though I don't know if that's the right term. But I just was curious. It was for me, It was just for me to be like, I know Braun Strowman is extremely, because I don't think this issue's right or left, right?
Right.
And I don't think it's right or left wing issue. And so it's like where, I tend to be a left leaning guy, right? But it doesn't stop me from liking Braun Strowman. If he wants to, we could talk about the Second Amendment. We could talk about, whatever. I don't need to get into the issues. We could talk about what makes you, what kind of freedoms you think you are important to you and whatnot. We can get into that. And also, I don't think it's. I do think there was a time where there's always been a time where it's like, the conversation's always been like, hey, just because we disagree doesn't mean we shouldn't get along. And I've always believed in that. Like, I've never censored any right-wing person who's listened to this. I love that I have different listeners. It's part of what I love about this podcast is like when someone messages me and I'll click on their profile, like on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, this person lives in like Idaho. I've never been to Idaho, but we connect. Like, I think that's part of what's beautiful about Cow Podcast. It's like, something I'm very proud of about the podcast.
To like, not to interrupt, but to kind of support your point here. There's a guy, I'm not going to name him because I don't want to put him on blast. There's a guy in the group who I never agree with. He posts a lot of stuff and I'm always like, you're wrong, right? But he posted something about this. It was an article from a source I would never go to. It was like a Christian libertarian website. But this article,
these websites are getting out of control.
But this particular article illustrated the point very well. And so just to illustrate your point where this isn't a left or right thing, this is about how many excuses are you willing to make for state violence? Like, how many excuses are you willing to make to say, oh, well, the state can murder people sometimes, right? And even this extremely right-wing libertarian Christian website was like, no, that's not, no, it's wrong when the state murders people extrajudiciously, period, right? So, like, just to like support your point of like, this isn't a left or right. It's the issue's clear. And I think if you go out of your way to start parsing things, then like you got the wrong. You're just wrong.
Yeah, well, there's also a thing where just because everyone is speaking out against the murder of George Floyd, and everyone's agreeing it's a murder, and even super people who are notoriously big protectors of cop lobbies and whatnot are saying it should be first-degree murder. They're going as far as
Right.
that. Doesn't negate the fact that in the past there's been almost no consequences for this behavior, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
now all of a sudden you've seen something that's too far for you, and then you're pulling a yeah, we agree, but situation, and it's went too long. But I wanted to go back to my original point, which was that I looked at some wrestlers, and because I don't see this as a right left issue, I just was curious who would kind of be silent right now.
Right.
And and I didn't look at every wrestler because it's not important because this was just for me, right?
Right.
And I looked at Braun Strowman, someone I know has different beliefs than me in a lot of ways, and he posted even just a black square, right? The minimal thing, but he wrote a nice little message on the bottom, and I think the difference between me and a lot of people is people say the black square. It's like, oh, you just posted a black square. I think it matters. I think the black square mattered a lot. I was kind of bummed that everyone went against the black square because, simplicity is very powerful, right? And, unity is very powerful. So, for me, it was yes, the black squares were misguided a little bit because people were hashtagging Black Lives Matters, which blocked a lot of information on the hashtags. So it was just blacked out, right?
Yeah.
But also, when you got to think about your initial scroll, and you see that the amount of people that were converted just by seeing people they respect, a number of people they respect, all have this unity. It is powerful. So I was like, you know what? I think this is actually helpful. And then it was kind of sabotaged, by sabotage is too strong. Well-meaning people had good intentions, but it got sabotaged because of the negatives of it. Anyway, my point is that I think a wrestler, Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, posts a black square. That changes people's minds, I believe.
Right.
I think that makes
I believe it too.
Right. So I think it does matter. So I looked at AJ Styles is the point, who's a wrestler I have probably the most merch of, is a guy that I respect a lot, but I know I've kind of turned a blind eye to things he's done in the past, things he said and whatnot. But again, didn't hold it against him because he's different, and also we make mistakes, and I don't need anyone to be like a Boy Scout and whatnot. But for me, it was kind of a final straw where CM Punk called him out also and was like, yeah, that's no surprise. And he didn't post anything, but he finds time to keep posting his video game posts. And it just felt icky to me. And I just said to everyone, you know what? I'm just not going to I'm not going to buy his merch anymore until I see some word from him, because I think it matters, especially he's a guy from Georgia, and he is I think that kids really look up to him. He's been the WWE champion, and that's it. I imagine all his coworkers he works with saying oh, this guy's kind of silent, hasn't done anything. Now, that's it. So I just said, for me personally, this guy's one of my guys. I'm still a fan of his. I'm not going to lie. I watched him on SmackDown. I was like, this guy's looking awesome still. I was like, those gloves are dope. The yellow looks awesome on his gloves. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm disappointed in the guy, and I could choose what I do personally with my money. And I felt like on the Facebook group, which is still the best Facebook group for wrestling, even the one guy who keeps trying to leave this thing keeps coming back, which is hilarious. And I understand because I'm in a
Which,
lot
by
of
the
them,
way,
and they're
next time
terrible.
you leave, stay gone. Stay gone.
And so that's it. I just said what I'm doing, right?
Right.
And it's amazing the pushback you can get, the amount of energy. People were saying things like, hey, I think that he's kind of he's a Midwest, he's a father of four, not a big social media guy, blah, blah, blah. Well, first off,
wrong.
I also think your public personality of WWE doesn't really work like that. You do have 2.3 million followers on there.
Right.
And also, I also think that I also kind of think that because like you're just because you're not a social media guy doesn't mean I can't choose to buy your merch.
Right. Right.
And I also think you spending your time. No, here was the argument. Someone said he's not a social media guy, and also I don't think he should be the only one called out because other wrestlers are not doing it. And someone said it's like I personally also don't feel comfortable posting about this stuff, so maybe he feels that way. And I'm saying, I'm saying a guy who is someone who gets my money is someone who's comfortable to stand up to this kind of injustice. The Rock has so much to lose by posting the stuff he's posted. The Rock is universally, broadly a hero to everybody. Everyone loves him. He has movies, huge box office. People can say he has a whole fan base. I imagine all police officers who will stop going to see his movies, right?
Right.
Stop giving him money. But it was too far for him. It was too far for everybody. I think it was too far for anybody to really not be silent. Go on the New York Times. If you are someone who needs to see this, if you've not done your due diligence, you should. If you can handle it, if you watch the actual murder of this guy, there's just no. It'll make you outraged. It's outrageous. And so what AJ Silence does is that it kind in my mind, and this is just for me personally, right?
Right.
What he does is that his enables people who post stuff like George Floyd's criminal record and shit that's completely irrelevant to how you should be treated by the state.
Right.
Like due process being held in the street, that the police are now executioners.
Which, by the way, fucking 10 years ago, people like Alex Jones were railing against. They would have the extrajudicial murder of somebody by a police officer. Remember he would say things like it's the cop's job to enforce the laws that Congress makes, not to interpret who's guilty and blah blah. Like these are core right-wing values, which further illustrates the hypocrisy and the cynical, just self-absorbed, knee-jerk defensive reaction that some people are having to this. Like, okay, you're afraid of this. Try not to have your reaction be that of a complete fucking asshole who's like, him speaking out means absolutely nothing. To you, it means nothing.
Right.
Like,
well, also, I'm not saying they're also the other jump people make because people can't handle the nuance of our day. And you better be able to start handling the nuance of today because we live in a really nuanced society. You know, and it's not going to get simpler. So if you don't know what a trans person is, look it up. Get information on it because if you can't handle the nuance that I'm not saying AJ Styles is racist. I'm not saying that. I'm literally not saying that. I
am.
Right. Well, right. Well, that's what you're saying. I'm personally not saying that. I don't have any proof of that. I'm just saying
I do, but I do.
Right.
It's not about his silence. It's about, so we're talking about things that AJ's maybe not comfortable saying, right? He's not comfortable speaking out. Here's something that AJ Styles was comfortable saying, okay? And I quote, "Since The Rock is not black or white, usually people like that can say full N-word whenever they want." That's something AJ Styles is comfortable saying.
Wait, can we break that down for a second? So he said he thinks that The Rock is like has no race?
Right. He says,
"Oh my God.
Since The Rock is not black or white,
right,
one or the other,
right.
Usually people like that can say," and then he said the full N-word with a hard R, whenever they want.
Right.
And it was this little snippet of a conversation he thought he was having in private.
Right.
It got picked up on a recording of a podcast and got published. Setting aside whatever argument, Hulk Hogan argument you want to make about what people say in private.
I'm sorry. What's the second part of that? The first part is he has no
So
race.
he's sort of saying
he's saying you can't say the N-word because he's not a race, or he's saying you can?
No, so obviously, okay, so I'm going to make an assumption as to the context of the rest of the conversation.
Right.
But if we use kind of our process of elimination here, a statement like this really kind of only fits in like one context, which is, how come I can't say the N-word? Who can say the N-word?
Oh.
How come? And then he says, since The Rock is not black or white, usually people like that can say N-word whenever they want.
Wait, no. The Rock can, I guess, say that if he wanted to, because he is black.
Right.
So he doesn't think. See, the thing, my problem with AJ is that he's a dope.
Right.
That's my problem with AJ, is that he's kind of like willfully ignorant.
Right.
And so that's kind of the problem. It's like, whereas, I'm sorry, but like, John Cena, I unfortunately for me, maybe it's time for me to grow up, but I see the WWE Championship as meaning something. Like, when I was a kid, the WWE Champion, Hulk Hogan, right? He was like the American hero, and kids looked up to him. Now, look behind the veil of that.
Right.
He had some problems, whatever. He was more of a Hollywood Hogan or whatever. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at, like, John Cena, right? I mean, the dude, like, I believe that the WWE champion, there should be a champion who, like, stands for, what do you call it? Correct
The
values?
common good. Yeah.
Right? Like, the common good should stand for, like, whatever the civil rights side of modern society looks like, whatever liberties people are fighting for in America, I take that seriously. And I think AJ has that, like, Americana vibe. He's like a dad of 4 and blah blah blah, and then most of the time is a baby face. And yeah, so to see the fact that behind the curtain, it's kind of like Hogan all over again, and it's frustrating.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, and then people say, "Oh, well, what about this? What about the time this other wrestler we're not fucking talking about said this? What about the other time this unrelated fucking thing happened? What about?" And it's like, all you're doing is like pointing out other examples of shit you don't care about.
And kudos to Randy Orton,
right,
of all people, who actually decided to think for a minute and said, I was wrong. Think about how many All Lives Matters tweets he's put out.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to actually just go back on it, I give him props. I mean, yeah.
Right. No, but
actually,
don't forget, Dan, him speaking out means absolutely nothing.
Well, I actually have a quote of him saying, he's talking about every single one of those old tweets that he put out with All Lives Matter in it.
Stupid, 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 stupid.
So he put out 15 of them.
There's always 5 or 6 more stupids than I ever think there's going to be.
It's so long.
No matter how many times I hear it.
Yeah. So,
the last thing I'm going to say is that, like, I just don't think it's not as to the people who are pushing back against this, it doesn't look to everybody else the way you think it looks to everybody else. We can all see your hypocrisy. We can all see your fear. We can all see your bad faith arguments. We can all see your whataboutisms, and you look like a fool. Like you're not being as slick as you think you are.
Wait, so and then the other argument they're making was, right, like, then shouldn't I hold WWE accountable? And a couple things, and maybe because we do this podcast, we kind of, barely profit off of WWE on this podcast, right? And so they're saying, like, all right, so, isn't it like I make money off of them? Aren't I kind of a fraud in that way? And you're like, okay,
no.
So yeah, your argument is, first off, that I can't handle a personal issue with a wrestler. It's not even a big issue either. It's just, I'm not going to give him $30 for a T-shirt until I see some progress. That's all I'm saying. That's literally all I said. Now we got to make it, it's all about above. Do we not? Does this podcast not? So we should stop watching? So WWE should have no accountability? I mean, this podcast, we always criticize their behavior. Always. From Saudi, all that. So we give that point of view. So that point of view should be gone. We should stop watching something that we love, where that supports actual talent with good views, like a Daniel Bryan, like a John Cena. I should just give up on those guys also. I just don't understand what your argument is. Your arguments are fucking lazy, man. Like, these arguments are lazy.
Because they're not arguments to make a point. They're arguments to move and change the point into an arena where they're more comfortable just getting you stuck in these whataboutisms. They have no argument for against any of it because it's your personal choice, right? So how are they going to – they have no facts to be like, your personal choice is wrong. So they want to move the argument to a different arena of, well, what about AEW? You don't think they're blah, blah, blah? Oh, and Jericho, you paid him $50 for that pay-per-view and he said all that. It's like, you are so transparently, purposely moving the topic of the conversation to a different area because you know you've lost on this other front.
Right.
And now you're like, well, come over here and argue about this. It's like, no, you're a dipshit. And I don't want to do that.
It's the equivalent of like when Trump just goes like, what a nasty question. Right? Like, oh, wow, you're a really bad reporter. As opposed to bring up, like, addressing the actual good point they brought up. Oh, no, you're being gross. You're being gross. You're being gross. Just for for pointing something out. Well, listen, we're got to get into the crevices of it all. It's all important. That's why, this stuff is complicated. We can't paint it all with broad strokes. It's like we're getting into small things. I'm pointing out, whereas WWE's done behavior that is absolutely wrong. I'm just pointing out one guy and something that bothered me. Same reason we point out Randy Orton, his behavior. All right, anyway, we can talk about this forever. It's literally could be a loop, but it's worth our time. It's worth our time to not. I'm not into like diversion. So if you can find another wrestling podcast that is gonna just say, let's just talk about the matches and this and that, like. I think wrestling's always been always been a reflection of society, you know? And that's also part of why I think a part of what is failing about the WWE product right now is them just trying to act like business as usual. Whereas AEW has done a couple of small things to make you realize they kind of know what's going on in this world. And I'm not going to back down from that just because you go, oh, you guys are AEW marks, blah, blah, blah. We're not crazy. That's not even true. We love all wrestling. I support all wrestlers. Anyway, just small thing. New Japan is back for people, let you know.
Cool.
I think on Monday, next Tuesday, they start the
32-man tournament?
Yeah, the 32-man tournament, single elimination. So if you're looking to watch New Japan, because what's it called, the tournament, by the way, the New Japan Cup starts. And they're doing a special called Together Project Special. So if you want to watch New Japan, they put it out. The brackets are out. I'm gonna be checking it out because I gotta watch guys like I've been missing, like Kota Ibushi's in the tournament. Zack Sabre Jr., who I always really dig. I know a lot of people are not in. Tanahashi in it. Okada. Yeah, everyone's in it. It's great. So, yeah. Great. All right. Let's actually, while we're talking about Randy Orton, get into Randy Orton for a second. Because so Randy Orton, he trolled NXT TakeOver. Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was so funny. I loved it. He literally was like, what was his tweet? His tweet was kind of like NXT. He was like, I heard NXT TakeOver was a great show. I'm slapping my leg for the show.
yeah, something like that.
Great job. # leg slap. Now, what he's saying is that all the wrestlers they overuse the leg slap, meaning like kicks, any of those wrestlers with the slap noise, the super kicks. It's funny. Ciampa responded and was like, hey, I needed, I don't know. I was looking for a way to get my daughter to sleep, so I showed her some Randy Orton matches. Was pretty funny. And then Orton responded again, and it was really funny. Check it out. I think it's really cool to see I like I love this side of Orton. He really is such a great fucking heel.
Yeah.
It's just about like
he called him the locker room leader of a wrestling school.
Yes, that was the best line. He called NXT a wrestling school. I wonder if this was a work at all. I don't think it is though. I think Randy just did it.
Yeah, I mean it's a work in the sense that they both know that it's not serious, but like I don't think Ciampa knew that tweet was coming.
No. And I think Ciampa definitely was actually annoyed, but also like these wrestlers also know they also understand the heat of it. I think that's very fucking fun. I wonder if they'll use it or go into anything. I think it'd be cool. I mean, Ciampa Orton would be interesting. Ciampa would look very tiny.
This big.
these guys need Orton to retire fast because Orton, when you get in the ring with Orton, it
Why?
exposes your how you look as a wrestler.
Orton is the only wrestler who I think they like pitch his build height down.
Yeah,
Like that man must be 7'2", and they're like, oh, he's 6'4". Like
he's like a fucking Adonis, and he's a
Yeah.
huge prick to boot. Uh, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, it's it's great. I love this behavior by Orton. It's really great. It is what's amazing about Orton. When he's doing his thing, no one is better at it.
no, right.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's talk a little about this Edge Orton match.
Okay.
That's coming up because Edge Orton at Backlash, which is by the way this weekend. Shockingly, I'm losing all sense of time. And
what up?
Oh my
What
God!
up?
Is this Newman? Are you here?
What up? I'm
Oh my!
back
It looks
in
like Newman got. It's the Super Troll.
Someone
oh my
just
God! You could see on the
Yup.
Zoom video, the Super Troll's completely taken over Newman's link. Super Troll, yeah. I was just talking about Edge Orton. You had something to say about that?
Oh, you mean the greatest match of all time?
You mean no, the greatest wrestling match ever. That's how they're billing it as. But we all kind of know that, like, I mean,
Finally, we're going back to the glory days of 2008, WWE, Ruthless Aggression. I'm pumped. This is the first time that I've been excited for a wrestling match in my entire 39 years on this earth.
39 years. Where you live right now?
Undisclosed location. I don't feel like giving you that information.
Your
In my mom's basement.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. 39. Wow. Wait. You're saying the Ruthless Aggression era is the best era in professional wrestling history?
Only next to the Attitude Era. I like all the tits. I like all those sloppy matches. I like all the racism. I like all that stuff. So bring it on, dude. Bring it on, dude.
Okay, I'm gonna ignore a couple of things you said there.
Well,
just
no,
to keep,
I don't
keep the show
like
going forward.
I don't like racism. It's like I like when they do racism.
No, there's no difference. There's no difference.
All right, agree to disagree, bro.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's okay. Well, all right.
No,
So,
that's just a different opinion.
no, it's not. It's not a different opinion. That's wrong. Listen, I while you're here, so you're saying that you think a 46-year-old Edge
Yep.
versus a 40-year-old Randy Orton is going to be the greatest wrestling match ever?
How would it not be? These two titans of, you got the rated R superstar. It's right there in his name. It's not for kids. It's not TV 14.
Yeah.
It's TVMA, just like the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
Randy Orton and his support of cops and Blue Lives Matter. I love it.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, Randy Orton is now back to stance up on that and is now a supporter of he's went back on All Lives Matter, and now he's a Black Lives Matter supporter, which is great.
Oh, is that look, I gotta go.
You got it. He's
What?
gone?
Am I on? What happened?
The Super Troll he hacked into your feed. It's a glitch because the Zoom bombing.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got to. Well, anyway, I'm glad he left. To be honest, I think I caught him in a hole of. We were gonna talk about Randy Orton versus Edge, but all right. Anyway, well, yeah, that guy's a fucking swamp creature. All right, moving on. I've noticed from watching WWE I keep talking about this, but they have the crowd behind this plexiglass, and the crowd is just all NXT talent.
Yeah.
And
Bugenhagen's there.
Yeah, it's Bugenhagen in like a fucking Bugenhagen in like an Oscar shirt. It's so dumb. But forget about it being dumb. The timing of it, the NXT guys are like trolling these wrestlers. Like they're heckling them basically. Like their timing, Edge will be in the ring and he'll just be like, do you know how hard I fought to get here? And they're like, so hard, man. So like, and you're like, wait, what? Like, it's not at all natural. It's like, it needs to be like toned down and like,
Yeah.
just, they need to.
Well, you know what it is? It's like the crowd comedians at like indie shows
Right.
where like they're yelling, they're trying to get their joke in there. Like when like someone's going for like a drop kick off the top rope and they're like, don't turn around. Or like they're trying to like
Yeah.
make these like meta jokes, you know?
It's like, it's actually like killing it because you hear them loud and clear. Just be like, shut up. It's all like,
Yeah.
shut up. But like, there's some, I honestly think, I'm trying to figure out the difference between why it works for AEW and not NXT, WB and NXT. And I think it's literally just because they're outside versus inside.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
I think that the AEW guys are probably also doing this shit, but their
Yeah.
sound is just kind of carrying better. Where
Right.
they're in a perfectly mic'd up studio,
Yeah.
and so you just hear the crowd, and they're
Yeah.
literally just like, "What's up, dude?"
Where's Doink?
Yeah, like Christian, it's just like, "You're the peeps guy."
Yeah. Where's
Uh,
Gangrel?
yeah, the Brood.
Brood rules.
Well, they're just like telling, and they're also telling them like they shouldn't give them any direction. They should just be like, go out there, have fun, and obviously like don't sell anything out. But what they're telling them is like, if someone's a face, cheer. If someone's so it's like completely inorganic. Like literally, they'll just be like, Edge comes out, they're like, yeah, we like this guy, and the heel like, boo, and you're like,
Boo, we don't like this guy.
yeah, it's like just kind of be more natural. It's so
Right.
bad.
Well, I mean, what the interesting thing though is that like whether AEW or WWE, isn't it amazing how like even 25 people in the audience makes such a difference for like wrestling in terms of like watchability and interest. It's like 12 people might as well be 1,000. Like it's versus 0. Like 0 people is like negative 1,000. And 12 or 25 people is like plus 1,000. It's kind of crazy.
Right.
How much wrestling loses without anybody watching.
Yeah. Yeah, they lose a lot. It's WB specifically. It just they're both. I mean, I think it's literally just the setup. The in studio is just not really working without a crowd, and the AEW one is. Well, their trick is that they have a crowd. They basically have a crowd. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Jeff Hardy for a second.
Yeah.
So, Jeff Hardy, they're using his addiction as a storyline. It's been a big topic on the Facebook group. By the way, if you're not in the Facebook group, Comedians Wrestling Podcast Facebook group, talk about wrestling at 4 in the morning, underside, blessed be the fruit. Join it. If you're not joining it, you're not part of the 20D experience. But a lot of people are bothered by it. I'm just curious how you feel about using his act. You know, he's been he literally fell off the wagon like, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, you know, or something. So it's very fresh.
Well, you know, like most things, it's kind of nuanced, right? Like if it depends. If I don't know, it's tough because I want to say if it's his choice and if he's in on it, then who are we to say how his life information gets used as part of a storyline?
Right.
But then there's also like, if he isn't fully sober and he is back to drinking and he is back to doing drugs, then he might not be in the headspace where he's making the right decisions as far as what to put out there, right? And maybe he even feels like if I do this on TV, if I, you know, I'm doing something like, I'm doing something about it. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's a possibility that he's tricking himself into thinking he's working on his demons when really he's just selling his demons out for whatever. So I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough. If it's his decision and he's healthy and he's not, and he's actually fine and it's just his decision to use it as a storyline, then I don't see how I could have a problem with it. But I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like kind of the thing where it doesn't bother me personally, but it's also because like addiction's not it's not really something that affects my life, so I'm not sensitive to it. You know what I mean? So I could see people being like, "Oh, I don't like this," but they also did it in a way where it was like, oh, he wasn't actually drunk. Sheamus set him up.
Right.
So then you're kind of like, oh, but he must be comfortable with it, right? Like you're saying.
Right.
So
That's what I'm saying. He must
into
be.
it, and wrestling really works like when we're like focusing on the reality here, and I think it's like there's a human aspect of Jeff there that I think I like. I personally like it, but I could hear someone could convince me the other way, but I think
Right.
also like the problem with WWE, like a big problem with WWE, is I'm watching it like really when I'm watching all this, like the Miz doing like pranks and shit. WWE is like so for little kids sometimes that
Mhm.
like I appreciate the adult shit, and like I know if AEW did this, I would like it. So I think I'm just lying if I say like they shouldn't touch
Right.
people's addiction. I think Jeff needs to be comfortable. That's the only thing that really matters to me.
Exactly. Right. And I mean, and this is my personal preference for stuff like this, where like when you use real life stuff, and this is the same argument that I use for when people talk about should there be a Nazi character or not. Like, it depends on what you do with it. It depends on the message that you're trying to get across.
Right.
And if there were a situation where like we're using Jeff Hardy's addiction as like a storyline, and he has this match with Sheamus, and like let's say hypothetically, shoot, he's actually healthy and on the wagon and is fine, and they're just using his history.
Right.
It's an opportunity to tell a story where like there's a redemption there, where like Sheamus beats him and he hugs him and is like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like storytelling that can happen that can be very deeply meaningful.
Well, my nuance of this is like the reason we can't have a Nazi character is
Right.
because we all don't agree Nazis are bad anymore.
Right.
Where
Well, that's my
everybody
point.
believes addiction is bad. We're all like, addiction is bad. Addiction is an enemy of every single human, and we all
Right.
agree it's not good. So we can spoof it. People have ruined us parodying Nazis. I'm like all the Jewish comedians, Mel Brooks, everybody like has written Jewish Holocaust comedies and whatnot, and even like Roberto Benigni, who's not Jewish, he wrote. He made a great movie. He played a Jew in Life is Beautiful. But like nowadays, it's like because these morons have ruined it for everybody. I don't even know if that'll happen anymore.
But I guess my point is like if you do have a character like that, then the responsibility is to make him a joke, make him weak, make him look stupid, point out, highlight that like this is wrong, this is bad. He loses, he's not a champion, he's not a winner, he's a loser. Like there's a way to make the commentary meaningful, is my point.
Right.
So like with the same with addiction and the same with Jeff Hardy's life, like there's a way to make this a commentary on how damaging addiction can be. But that would require them to sort of take this medium to a different place.
Right. And also
they're obviously not willing to go.
Vince to focus on the nuance again, and then Vince also has to not just bail on it. Like it has to be
Right.
done right, Yeah.
But if Jeffy is okay with it,
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
okay with
That's how I feel. I want Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles for the IC title. Is going to happen at Backlash, and my guess is that Daniel Bryan will be winning, and then Daniel Bryan will be every single week. He already said it. He's going to do what Cody's doing right now with the TNT title, cutting a schedule, the likes no one has ever seen. I adored Cody saying, "I'm about to cut a schedule," like no one's ever seen. Fuck it. I love whenever they use the marquee jargon. That's where I become like fucking smart or whatever. Like, but I love if they're like talk about.
What's cutting a schedule? Is that like shooting an email to somebody?
No, cutting a schedule just means like I'm about to cut a schedule the likes of has never been seen. Meaning he's gonna put the title on the line every week, like he's working every week. I'm gonna wrestle. Cutting a schedule means like I'm gonna be like working harder than everybody else. Like
So it is. It's like I'm gonna shoot you this email. I'm gonna cut this schedule. It's like a thing you do.
Oh.
Right?
So you mean where's the metaphor come from?
What is the cutting? Yeah, like what does that mean? Like I'm gonna cut.
Yeah, like
what's cut?
Cutting a schedule means I'm going to.
Because you don't cut a schedule. You don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like because I don't know.
I'm gonna shoot an email the likes of which has never been seen. Tremendous email.
Yeah, no, I actually don't know the answer, to that, but I think they're gonna do that same thing with Daniel Bryan with the title. But um,
It's a good
yeah,
one.
I think
It's
that'll be.
just funny to think about.
I think that'll be good. Daniel Bryan his promo was whack though. It was not delivered well. It was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But Daniel Bryan with the IC title will be fun. But I fucking hate that IC title. It does not look like the IC title at all. It's a nice looking belt.
You know what's funny is I totally forgot that it changed.
Oh
And
yeah,
then when you
yeah,
said
because Shinsuke had it and it was buried for so long.
yeah, and then when you just said IC title, in my mind's eye, I saw the old one. I totally forgot that it changed.
Yeah.
I got a hangnail page.
You got a hangnail Page?
Hangnail page.
Okay. Bailey and Sasha are the tag team champions again. I will give Bailey some props. A lot of people in the Facebook group posting shit like, if anyone's ready to be a Bailey mark. I'm not a Bailey mark by any chance, but I will give her props because Bailey had a very fucking, when she won the title, she was laying on the announce table like just screaming like, and it was pretty funny. And then she had both titles and was pretending like they're so heavy, like she couldn't even drag them. That's the most personality I'd ever seen out of Bailey.
Yeah. Yeah. Currently right now, that's the one thing I cannot take away from Bailey is that she's showing 1,000% more personality than I've ever seen her ever.
She's getting such great booking. I mean, the power of booking. But good for her. I mean, good for WWE, like getting behind her. You know?
Right. This is so specific, but there is a Snickers commercial with her in it where she's hungry, so she's being an asshole.
Yeah.
You know? And it's even a different version of Bailey than is being shown now that I think more hits the mark than like what she's hitting. I encourage everybody to go back and find that Snickers commercial. It's very short, obviously, but like it's
I remember it, but I remember
where
seeing
she
it
needs to
once,
be.
but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Here's a small thing, but this Shorty G shit needs to end. I mean, that guy's one of the most talented guys they got on the roster.
Right.
Calling him Shorty G is ridiculous. It also feels like, I don't know, weird. It feels like a rap name. It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's.
How tall is he? Is he even that much shorter than?
He's probably 5'9". He's probably Daniel Bryan's height. But to put his height on display when he's that talented in ring is so ridiculous. Absolutely hate it.
He's 5'8". He's pretty short.
So is Daniel Bryan though, and also it's like why, like if you want to talk about his height and be like, but this guy can go. He's so small, but he defies the odds or whatever. Like whatever, and he's so strong. Then why call him Shorty G? Like Shorty G's not what any white guy would call themselves, unless they're a rapper.
They're from Long Beach.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's not even about being white. It's like it's a rap name.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's very steeped in like hip hop vernacular.
Yeah, this guy's a Olympic athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's so weird too because it's like they didn't even try to. I mean, I guess they did with American Alpha, but then they dropped that. But like, you have the Steiner brothers, you have like Kurt Angle, you have even to an extent like Drew Gulak. Like, there's a trope of like wrestler. Even Dolph Ziggler, they talk about his Kent State stuff. Like, there's a trope of like a wrestler's wrestler. Like, why not just do that? Like the Shorty G stuff is just so arbitrary.
Yeah, it's I just every time it's like hurts me. It bothers me.
Didn't he pick it though? I think he's the one who. I think so.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance in hell. No chance
Puppets.
in hell. All right, let's just move on to. I mean, Sasha and Bailey are the only way to make the women's tag champ, the titles mean something. I think. They are probably the best like two wrestlers, and I think they should go on a run. And they actually have been a unit for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I think like they probably should have never came off them. Although Sasha left after WrestleMania, but maybe she wouldn't have flipped out if they kept him. I don't know. I don't really know the situation there. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I really did not enjoy Raw this week in particular. Oh, you wanted to talk about the decathlon.
I thought I was gonna hate it.
Yeah.
And so like, it was, at least to me, I thought it was pretty funny. But it was at least to me like doing something else with the medium, like to the point where I think it might be cool to even have like a separate spin-off reality show where we see WWE wrestlers do like events like this. So to me, it was funny, and it also, yeah, it was just like an example of like, oh, you can do in this time where you can't have a big crowd. Let's mess with the form a little bit. Let's see what else we can do in the name of wrestling. So on that point, I will defend it.
Right.
But you hated it.
So it's funny because you said you had told me you had told me that that it was good. I was like, oh shit.
I said it was pretty
it.
funny. I didn't say it was good.
I was like, fuck, I skipped it because I literally was like, I can't watch any more of these. And I haven't skipped any of them. I watched all of them, and then I did watch it, and then I agree. It was a good time. They're actually like whatever. They're fine. They're a little kiddie for me, but like there was some funny jokes in there, and it was like a little silly. Where I was like, oh, this is fun. It's just kind of a bummer because then the Viking Raiders come out later in the show. They're supposed to be like kind of scary, and you're like, you just kind of sold out your whole gimmick.
Yeah, that's true.
I would love if the Viking Raiders literally were like, oh, we're descendants of Vikings, and we're like. Literally take this like they're like Amish kind of, where they actually like still live a Viking lifestyle for no reason. But if you're like, oh, we're just Viking, they Encino Man them a little bit, and to me that's always gonna make a little silly,
Right. Like the Street Profits should have showed up to like a longhouse and been like, this is where you live, and like there's like people out there like making boats and like they live in like a Viking community.
Yeah, like that's what AEW did with like Lance Archer and like Jake. Like, I guess in kayfabe they live in like the fucking bayou or some shit, and they have like a wrestling ring set out outside
which I love.
Yeah, and that's where they train, and like they don't, they kind of stay off the grid. They gave him kind of like, so you're like, cool. All right, let's just look quickly at this Backlash card because it's this weekend. See where we're at. And I'll cover AEW and NXT this week on the bonus episode coming out Friday morning. I haven't watched AEW yet. But, Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Loving Drew McIntyre's headbutt, by the way.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre is doing a great job. I was surprised.
To that point, I'm loving Bobby Lashley's Full Nelson, too.
I know.
I love us. Yeah.
I agree. It's like I think that Bobby Lashley with MVP is very good.
Mm-hmm.
You can always do a lot with Bobby Lashley. It's because he's so fucking believably jacked. There's always room for it.
Right.
He just never. It's like when he had the Lana storyline. It's just so silly. But yeah, I mean, obviously Drew's gonna beat him. Obviously, it's definitely not. I mean, I say obviously. I guess who knows?
Right.
I'm 90% sure that Drew. I would take Drew here, but we'll keep Drew's run going. Drew's just so likable. He's so fun.
Yeah, I also like. I mean, it's probably going to be another 50 years before we see another black champion. So I think, I think Drew McIntyre is the safe bet there.
I guess I didn't even think about that. You think there's any chance they'll want to be like, hey, we have a black champion?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. And Dream also lost to Cole, a takeover. So, they're not quick to change their plans based on the societal progress or whatever. But, and not that they should or anything. It's like we don't, it's not like we want Bobby Lashley to just win the title just because of Black Lives Matter movement. That's also kind of silly. But it is cool that Bobby and MVP are kind of making waves. I really think Yeah, I mean everyone seems to be into Bobby now more, so it's good. But all right, so Drew I think will win. Edge versus Orton. You think Edge beats Randy clean?
Yeah.
Probably, right? Just big because this is the like he still got it match, right?
Right. Right.
Strowman versus The Miz and Morrison. I guess Strowman will retain. They're not going to give the
Yeah.
title to the two of them. They're just jokes right now. This is just going to be Strowman looking strong. Asuka versus Nia Jax. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean,
could
if
see
I-
them
if-
doing. I could
yeah.
see them giving it to Nia Jax.
I could see that too. I guess it just depends on whether or not Nia hurts Asuka.
I know they might
During
yeah.
the match.
Yeah, that's true. She might. Nia might hurt Asuka so bad that Asuka can't even kick out from a
Right.
2 count. Are there any good examples of that happening of by accident wins?
Mm,
I don't think I've ever seen any, to be honest. I'm gonna look
no,
that
because I
up.
think their training usually kicks in. Like all the examples, it's like all the wrestlers' training kicks in, and they kayfabe the ending. Like it's like Chris Jericho. There's one where like he's like yelling at the ref to like, or he's like drawing something out because he knows the person is like out on their feet. There's evidence of like times where I think wrestlers know like, oh shit, like
Oh, right.
this person's walking around passed out.
But you don't think there's ever time someone doesn't realize that the other wrestler is like been knocked out cold and then they just have to do a 3 count because you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. It's possible.
I'm gonna
It's
look
possible.
that up. If you see one, send me those. Post those in the Facebook group. Has there ever been match? I mean, don't if they get like really hurt, whatever. But I'm just talking about a time where a wrestler like either forgets to kick out, like they missed the first hit of the bat.
That I think has
or-
definitely happened.
yeah, and then somebody wins accidentally.
Yeah, that I think definitely has happened.
Right.
Where, because sometimes I miss it. Like the sound of the ref getting down on the mat makes me think it's the first like hit.
As someone who's wrestled a little bit, I'll just say that I wouldn't have thought about that thing except for
Yeah.
the fact that I've had times where I felt like it could easily happen.
Right.
All right, just Jeff Hardy. I think Asuka will win though, gun to the head. But Jeff
Yeah.
Hardy versus Sheamus. I think Jeff Hardy wins because that's like the triumph of
Right.
that. Unless Sheamus like gets him drunk or something. I'm not even kidding. I think that Bailey and Sasha retain against Alexa Bliss, Cross, and Iconics. And then Apollo Crews, I think, retains. And I think Andrade will get involved and take. I think Garza will take out Andrade. Will ruin it for him.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably going to see Rollins versus Mysterio. And I think Rollins will beat Mysterio. Yeah.
How do you feel about the? I like the Aleister Black Rollins dynamic though.
Yeah.
I like the curb
like the
stomp.
false and the false idol versus the kind of what are you talking about? Actual move?
Yeah, when he what you're saying, but then also the physically like holding him back. This is what you get when you try to be a hero, and then the curb stomp.
Yeah, the
Like,
whole
that's
curb
all-
stomp's really cool. It's the closest thing to the curb stomp baptism that
Right.
that I want, but I want that to
Right.
convert. That would convert. I don't think you can be converted against your will. That's not what the curb stomp baptism does. It doesn't like if you get it all
Right.
of a sudden. It doesn't brainwash you. It's more
Right.
like just a moment of giving you your title of like you've been a
Right.
great disciple. But yeah, no. I mean, Aleister Black's really nicely positioned right now. He is
Mhm.
doing kind of the thing we talked about. It's like he stands up against Rollins because Rollins is pretending to be like a false king or whatever.
Mhm.
I think it's good. I think Aleister is ready for big zones, but hold off on Aleister to bless you until crowds are back.
Right.
Like you need the
Right.
excitement of Aleister with the crowd. He needs to for his first run. They can't McIntyre him. Yeah.
No. I mean, do you think? I wonder though when if we ever get the green light to have 13,000 people in a stadium, I wonder if people are going to flock back in that number, or if it's going to be slow.
Newman, if they held a 20,000 person show in Florida right now, every
Yeah,
seat would
you're
be
right.
full. Every seat.
You're right. You're right.
You just got to
You're right.
choose the right state. You can't do it in
Right.
Los Angeles.
Right.
Can't do it in New York. You could do it in Georgia, probably. Texas, no question.
Yeah.
All these states that they're showing you. Texas, I mean, they're showing I even think Barton. I think I saw a shot of Barton Springs in Austin was full.
Yeah.
So that's a very liberal city too. I just think, I mean, even my gym's about to open, and
Yeah. I mean, there's new information that's come out
it's
from
way
the-
less transmittable when you're
Right.
asymptomatic. We've seen, but for me, the bottom line, it's just a risk reward thing. A risk reward, it's not. I mean, it's just kind of a risk thing, management thing for yourself. For me, if I don't get back to the gym soon in some kind of real capacity, I'm done working out on my porch. I'm done. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's so hard, and my mental health is suffering from being. So for me, going to the gym it's kind of not really optional. Whereas it's kind of weird because I've been wrestling with the fact of I really want to go out and protest,
Yeah.
but I've been holed up, and I'm to go out with that group of people and then come home to my wife has been hard for me to wrap my head around. To go out with and then I'm well, also I'll use this podcast platform, to get this stuff across, and that I'm gonna probably be more effective that way because I reach more ears this way. And then that's how I've wrestled with that. But I'm not exactly. But then I'm but then I'll also make an exception to go to the gym. Though the gym's gonna open, they're saying they'll have 4 or 5 people in at a time. So you're all right,
Make an appointment.
we all have. I have no idea what's the right thing. I could look back and and also I did go to a very spaced out protest thing, and I hung out in my car and honked my horn. So I did that.
Right.
So you're does that count? I don't. The world is strange right now.
Right.
The world is strange right now. Did you go out and protest?
Yeah, I did. I went just once to the one on
Capitol
Sunday.
Records?
Yeah, by Capitol Records, but I didn't march with the group. I was just kind of there on the sidelines with one of those medical masks,
Right.
and then a face covering on top of that. It was all really tight.
It's I
and
don't
I
have
wasn't-
an Inline 5 mask.
I don't either. It's just one of
Yeah.
these surgical masks, and then on
Right.
top of that is a just a bandana. So I had a bunch of layers over my face, and I
Right.
stayed away from. I was still kind of able to maintain a distance, but I guess we'll see in 2 weeks if that was a mistake.
Right.
But I didn't march with the group. There was 100,000 people there, so I didn't end up marching. But and I only stayed for about 2 hours, if that.
Right.
So it was definitely managed. I was I'm going to do this a specific way to reduce the risk of exposure.
Right.
But
Well,
I had to
yeah.
get out there.
Right. No, I know. Anyway. All right. Well, you guys, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I really, really, really hope that even if you kind of disagree with us in this time, I hope, and I can't change your mind or whatever, for whatever reason, I still hope you listen and hear us. Hear us and, I'm not saying I think we're at the point where it's kind of non-negotiable, being I agree, you disagree. I think you probably should agree with us. Maybe there's always going to be some room for nuance of something we said wrong or blah, blah, blah. I'd be open to that. But I hope you enjoy, I don't know, having these real conversations with us. And I do think it's interesting. It affects everything. COVID-19, all these issues going on with the fallout of George Floyd's murder. It's amazing how this affected our society so much that it's easy to talk about it in how it relates to pro wrestling. You know?
Right.
So I just think it's kind of unavoidable in that way. So, all right. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to this podcast. Check us out. Support the Patreon. That's how we keep this podcast going, frankly. So patreon.com/comedians of wrestling. If you listen every week, you should be giving us a little bit of cash. But in these hard times, if you don't have any, I understand. All right. Everybody, thanks for listening to the podcast, and stay safe. Do what's best for you. And go listen to the New Day podcast. These guys who we've been entertained by forever. Listen to them talk about what it meant for Kofi to win that title and how that actually matters. Yeah, everybody, keep watching wrestling. Kisses.